I always thought the worst day of my life would be the day my mother died. I was wrong. The worst day was the day after, when I found her diary. The funeral was cold, gray, and silent. The kind of silence that presses against your skin and seeps into your bones. Everyone wore black, but no one cried. Not even me.
Not yet.
I stood beside her casket, watching strangers lower her into the ground, and all I could think was, this doesn't feel real. Mom was only 54. A sudden aneurysm, the doctors said. No pain, no warning. One moment she was laughing on the phone with me. The next, gone. I had no siblings. No father. No extended family that I knew of. Just me, Clara, left to pick up the pieces of a life I thought I understood. After the burial, I returned to her house, the one I hadn't been back to in over 8 years. Everything was exactly the same. Too clean. Too perfect. As if she had been preparing for her own absence. That's when I found it. The diary. It was hidden in the false bottom of her old jewelry box, the one she told me never to touch. A leather-bound book, faded and fragile. On the first page, written in her perfect cursive, were 5 words. For Clara. Read carefully. M. I hesitated. Something about the way the ink had soaked into the paper. It looked old. Decades old. I flipped forward, scanning entries from the late 90s, early 2000s, stories about her childhood, my birth, little notes of love. And then I turned to a page dated March 12, 2006. My blood ran cold.
It read.
I saw it again last night. The dream. The staircase. The white dress. The blood on the tiles. It ends the same every time. I'm alone and someone whispers, "You've been warned." It will happen when I'm 54. I'll be found in the kitchen, collapsed by the fridge. Clara will be on the phone, won't know. They'll tell her it was sudden. But I'll know it wasn't. I was shaking. She described exactly how she died 17 years before it happened. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my old childhood bed, clutching the diary like it might vanish if I let go. The air in the house felt wrong. Still. Expectant. At 3:17 a.m., I heard a sound from downstairs. A soft creak, like someone stepping on the 3rd floorboard by the fridge. The exact place the diary said she'd die. I froze. Every instinct told me to stay put. But something stronger, maybe curiosity, maybe fear, pulled me from the bed. I crept down the hallway and descended the stairs. The kitchen light was off. Only the moonlight lit the space through the window above the sink. Then I saw it. A small smear of red on the white tile. Not blood.
Ink.
Exactly where her body had been found. I knelt and touched it. Still wet.
Fresh.
A chill ran through me, and I glanced back at the diary in my hand. When I flipped to the next page, I gasped. There was a new entry, one that hadn't been there before.
She knows now.
She's reading this at 3:17 a.m., kneeling by the ink. Clara, listen to me. You're not safe. My hands trembled. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear. I looked again. The ink on the tile was gone. Wiped clean. I backed away slowly, holding the diary to my chest, and returned upstairs. The hallway felt narrower. The shadows darker. When I passed the mirror in the hallway, I caught a glimpse of something behind me. A shape. Tall, thin, unmoving. When I turned, nothing. The next morning, I drove to the hospital to ask for my mother's medical records. The nurse at the front desk raised an eyebrow. She was one of Dr. Evelyn Harrow's patients, she said. I frowned. That name sounds familiar. The nurse looked puzzled. It should. You were one of her patients, too, when you were a child. That was impossible. I had no memory of that doctor. No memory of ever being sick. But later that night, as I flipped through the next pages of the diary, I saw a name scrawled in the margins. Evelyn Harrow knows. She made me forget. I drove home in silence. The name Evelyn Harrow repeated in my head like a scratched record.
Who was she?
And why couldn't I remember her? When I got back to the house, I pulled out the old photo albums from the hallway closet. They were thick with dust, untouched for years. I opened the first one, my baby photos. My mother smiling, holding me in her arms. Pages and pages of our life together. Then, buried between two photos, something slipped out, a loose photograph, yellowed and creased. It showed me as a little girl, maybe 6 years old, sitting on a doctor's table, smiling. Behind me stood two women. One was my mother. The other was labeled in pen on the back. Dr. Evelyn Harrow, June 2002. But the face. The woman's face was blurred. Not out of focus, smeared, like someone had dragged a wet finger across her image. But the rest of the photo was perfectly clear. And suddenly I remembered something. A dream I used to have as a child, a white room, a woman whispering my name, and the smell of lavender and burning paper. I opened the diary again. There was a line I hadn't noticed before, written along the inside edge of the cover. Memories are stitched in ash. Burn the photo. Watch what returns. I stared at the picture. My hands were cold. I took it to the kitchen, struck a match, and lit the corner. The fire caught quickly, curling the edges inwards. As it burned, I felt something deep inside me shift, like a heavy door swinging open. A wave of dizziness hit me. And then, a memory.
Sharp.
Vivid. I was small, crying in that same white room. My mother was screaming behind a glass wall. A woman in a red coat stood beside me, placing her hands on my head and whispering something again and again. She won't remember. She won't remember. She won't remember. I stumbled back, breathless. What had they made me forget?
Why?
And why was it starting to come back now? That night, I heard whispering through the walls. It wasn't the wind. It was a voice. My mother's voice. Don't trust the mirror, Clara. That's where it begins again. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The photo was gone, burned to nothing, but the memory it unlocked haunted me, clearer now than dreams, and far more terrifying. I had been taken somewhere. Changed.
Erased.
And my mother had let it happen. Or tried to stop it. Around 4 a.m., I got up to get water from the kitchen. As I passed the hallway mirror, the one Mom kept covered for years with a floral scarf, I stopped.
The scarf was gone.
I didn't remember removing it. In the reflection, I saw myself.
Pale.
Wide-eyed. But something was wrong. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. It was the kind of smile that doesn't belong on a human face. The kind that feels like a warning. I froze. The reflection raised its hand, a full second before I did. Then it spoke. Without sound. Just mouthed the words. You're almost back. I stumbled away, heart pounding. My breath came in shallow gasps. That wasn't a trick of the light. That was real. Too real. I ran back to the diary, flipping through pages I hadn't reached yet, looking for answers, something. Anything that made sense. Halfway through, I found a passage, written in thick, uneven strokes. The mirror is the gateway. It reflects not who you are, but who they want you to become. There was more. I caught her watching me once. Not my reflection. Her. The other me. She lives in the house too, Clara. She's waiting for you to open the door. I slammed the diary shut and grabbed the scarf, throwing it over the mirror again. I couldn't look at it anymore. I couldn't risk seeing her. But that night, as I lay in bed, the whispering returned. This time not through the walls. From the mirror. It sounded like my mother, but not quite. She whispered, "You're not the only Clara. And you're not the first." The whispering stopped at dawn. The house was quiet again. Too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I avoided the mirror. I didn't even glance at it when I passed. But something inside me had shifted. It wasn't just fear anymore.
It was urgency.
A pressure building behind my ribs. I had to know the truth. And the diary, the one my mother left, wasn't enough anymore. I began tearing the house apart. Room by room. Drawer by drawer. I searched behind paintings, inside vents, under furniture. Hours passed. Nothing. But then I remembered something. As a child, I once dropped a marble in the hallway outside my bedroom. It rolled toward the wall, and then disappeared. My mother told me I imagined it, but I always remembered that sound, the hollow thud beneath the floorboards. I went to that spot and knelt. The floor was old wood, faded, a little loose at the edges. I pulled at the corner plank. It groaned, and then snapped free. Beneath it, a shallow compartment, maybe a foot deep. Inside was a small black book, wrapped in rotting cloth. My hands shook as I lifted it out. No title, just initials carved into the cover. C.A.E. I opened the first page. My breath caught in my throat. My name is Clara Evelyn Ashbourne. If you are reading this, then I'm already gone. And you've taken my place. I dropped the book. The name. Clara Evelyn Ashbourne. My mother's maiden name. This wasn't my diary, but it was about me. Or someone who had my name, my face, my memories. The entries were strange, fragmented, full of drawings, circles, doors, mirrors with figures behind them, pages describing rituals, instructions, warnings. One page had been violently scratched out, but a single sentence remained visible at the bottom. They will reset you, like they did me, like they did all of us. All of us? How many Claras were there? I turned the page, and there she was. A photo glued into the book. A girl, maybe 16, pale skin, dark eyes, standing in the hallway of this very house. It was me, but I'd never seen that photo before. And I was never that young in this house. That night, I returned to the hallway. The mirror was uncovered again. And this time, there were two of me staring back. I ran for the front door. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, to get out of that cursed house. But when I turned the knob, it wouldn't budge. I tried again. Harder. Still locked. Panic set in. I looked out the window. The street outside, familiar, yet wrong. I stepped back and tried the door once more. This time it opened. But as soon as I stepped outside, the street looked exactly the same. The same cracked sidewalk. The same crooked mailbox. The same faded house across the street. I took a few steps forward, then a few more, and suddenly I was back at the doorstep. It was a loop. The house wasn't just a place. It was a prison. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then the phone rang. The old landline in the hallway. I hadn't heard it ring in years. I picked up the receiver. A voice whispered, low and rough. "You're not who you think you are. You never were." The line went dead. I dropped the phone. I was shaking, terrified. But there was one thing I knew for sure. The answers I sought weren't outside. They were inside the house. And I had to go deeper. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house felt alive, watching me, breathing with a slow, heavy rhythm. At midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, deliberate. Not mine. I followed the sound, creeping through the shadows toward the basement door. It was cracked open, a faint orange glow spilling out. I hesitated. Then, driven by something I couldn't explain, I descended. The basement was different than I remembered. The walls were lined with symbols, circles, triangles, strange runes drawn in what looked like ash or dried blood. In the center, a low table held objects I didn't recognize. A cracked mirror, old candles, a wooden box with a faded symbol of a serpent eating its own tail. Suddenly, a voice whispered from the darkness. "They trapped us here. The ones who come before. The ones who rewrite time." I spun around, no one there. Then the candles flickered, and a figure appeared. Not solid, translucent like smoke shaped into a woman. Her eyes were hollow, her mouth moving, but no sound came out. I felt the same cold dread I felt when I looked into the mirror. The apparition raised a hand, pointing at the mirror. I looked closer. In the glass, I saw not my reflection, but a room I'd never seen before. Full of people, all wearing masks. One of them was my mother. She took off her mask, smiled sadly, and mouthed a word I couldn't hear. Then everything shattered. The next day, I barely moved. My mind replayed the vision over and over. Masks, shadows, and my mother's sad smile. I returned to the diary, searching for any clue about the ritual, the symbols, the shadowy figures. That's when I found it. A page folded in half, written in hurried scrawl. The cycle returns every 17 years. It traps a soul, rewrites the past, and demands a sacrifice. Mother fought it once, almost broke free. But it always comes back. Clara, you're next. I gasped. 17 years. The same time between my mother's death and this moment. I was caught in the middle of something ancient. Something alive. Then I remembered the black book, the other Clara's diary. The one wrapped in ash and secrets. It wasn't just a warning. It was a call. A call to finish what my mother started. That night, the whispering voice returned, clearer this time. Break the cycle. Or be broken by it. I knew what I had to do. The diary had hidden pockets, folded sheets, scribbled notes pressed between the pages. I unfolded them carefully. My mother had documented everything. Her research, fears, and desperate attempts to break free. One note caught my eye. The ritual can be broken by severing the bond that ties the soul to the house. It requires a token, something of great personal value, and a sacrifice made in truth. Another page detailed an old family heirloom, a locket, passed down through generations, said to contain the essence of the family's spirit. I realized the locket was missing.
But why?
My search led me to the attic, dust-covered boxes, forgotten memories. There, buried under old clothes, was the locket.
Tarnished, but intact.
I opened it. Inside was a faded photo of my mother as a young woman and a tiny folded piece of paper with a single word: forgive. That night, the house felt less oppressive. The whispering softened, almost hopeful. I knew my next step. I had to find out what sacrifice was needed to end the cycle. The next morning, I gathered courage and knocked on the door of the old house next to mine, the one no one had lived in for years. But the front door was open, and an old man sat on the porch, rocking slowly in a chair. His eyes were sharp, but tired. "I've been expecting you," he said quietly. I blinked. "You know me?" He nodded. "More than you think. I knew your mother, knew what she was fighting." I sat down beside him. He told me stories about the house, the cycle, and the shadows that come back every 17 years to claim a soul. "Your mother tried to break free. She almost did. But the ritual, it's tied to the blood, to the family." He paused, then looked straight into my eyes. "You have to be careful. The sacrifice isn't just pain or loss. It's about truth. About facing what's buried deep inside." I asked him about the locket.
He shook his head.
"That locket is powerful, but it's not enough. You'll need more than just an object." That night, I held the locket tightly and whispered a promise. "I will finish this. For you. For me." That night, sleep came like a wave, sudden, overwhelming. I found myself in a strange place. The house, but different, brighter, yet eerily silent. Shadows moved just beyond the edges of my vision. I walked down the hallway. Doors lined the walls, each one glowing faintly. I reached for a door at the very end. As I touched the handle, a flood of images poured into my mind. A family dinner, laughter frozen in time. My mother, younger, speaking urgently to a shadowy figure. A woman crying in a dark room, clutching the locket. And me, standing alone in the rain, whispering a name I didn't know. I woke gasping, heart pounding. The dreams were a message, a warning. I was the key to breaking the cycle, but also the target. The next day, I found an old letter tucked inside the diary. "Clara, if you're reading this, it means the cycle has begun again. Only by embracing your true self can you hope to survive. Trust no one but your own heart."
M.
After the dream, nothing felt the same. Every smile seemed forced, every word weighed with hidden meaning. Even those closest to me felt distant, like actors in a play where I didn't know my lines. I started watching them, listening more closely. Small inconsistencies, strange glances, whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. One evening, the old neighbor came by again, his eyes grave. They're watching you, he said. Not just the house. The circle. The ones who keep the cycle going. I asked, who?
Who are they?
He hesitated. People you trust. People who wear masks. They've been here long before you, and they'll be here long after. That night, the whispering came again, this time louder, more urgent. The truth will set you free or kill you. I realized the greatest danger wasn't the house or the ritual, it was not knowing who to trust. One rainy afternoon, while searching the attic for answers, I stumbled upon a hidden compartment in an old wooden chest. Inside lay a sealed envelope, yellowed with age and marked with my mother's familiar handwriting. With trembling hands, I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. Clara, if you are reading this, the cycle has returned. I failed to break it, but you can succeed where I could not. The locket holds more than memories, it is a key. You must return it to the place where the house began, beneath the oldest oak tree in the yard. There, sacrifice what you hold most dear, your trust in those around you. Only then will the cycle be broken. Remember, the darkest secrets are buried within the heart. Forgive me, M. The letter felt like a weight lifted and dropped all at once. Forgive me. Was she asking forgiveness for what had been done? For what had to be done? That evening, I stood beneath the ancient oak tree in the yard, the locket heavy in my palm. The wind whispered through the branches, as if the house itself was holding its breath. I knew what had to be done. The night was thick with silence as I knelt beneath the ancient oak. The locket felt cold in my hand, heavier than before, as if it carried the weight of generations. I whispered a promise to the wind, to my mother, to myself. With trembling fingers, I opened the locket and let it fall into the earth beneath the tree. A sudden chill wrapped around me, and the ground seemed to pulse. The air grew thick with voices, whispers of the past, the lost souls trapped in the cycle. Then, a figure emerged from the shadows, the woman from the mirror, the other me. Her eyes met mine. You chose the truth, she said softly. I nodded. The house around me shuddered, walls cracking, shadows dissolving into the night. The cycle was breaking. But freedom came with a cost. I felt a deep emptiness, a part of me fading, sacrificed to end the torment. As dawn broke, the house stood quiet, peaceful, no longer a prison, but a home. I was free, but forever changed.